The story begins in New York's Central Park, where many people are peacefully walking around. But suddenly, everyone stops moving. Some people even begin walking backward. Nobody understands what is happening because no one seems to be in their senses anymore. Two women are sitting on a bench in the park. One of them suddenly starts repeating the same sentence again and again. Then, without warning, she takes out a hairpin and begins violently harming herself. In the next scene, we see a construction site where workers standing high above suddenly begin falling to the ground. At first, the people below think it is just an accident. But when they look up, they realize that many workers are willingly jumping down on their own. After this, we are introduced to a high school science teacher named Elliot, who is teaching his students about nature. He explains that nature still holds many secrets that humans know nothing about. Soon, an emergency meeting is announced at the school, and everyone is informed that the city is under attack. It is believed that some kind of poisonous gas has been released into the air, causing people to harm themselves. Because of this, everyone is advised to leave the city immediately. Elliot then leaves with his wife, his friend, and his friend's daughter on a train heading toward Philadelphia. But after some time, they are informed that the poisonous gas, or whatever virus it is, has already spread throughout Philadelphia and the surrounding areas as well. This means going there is pointless. Because of this, the train suddenly stops in the middle of an isolated area. All the train staff and passengers get off the train. The staff explains that the railway signals have mysteriously stopped working on their own, which means the train cannot move any farther. Therefore, everyone will now have to continue their journey on foot. Meanwhile, in a park in Philadelphia, many people are walking around when suddenly a strange gust of wind passes through the area. Everyone immediately stops moving, and just like the others, they begin harming themselves. Meanwhile, Elliot's friend learns that his wife, who was earlier in Boston, has now left for Princeton. He desperately wants to reach her and save her at any cost. So he leaves his daughter with Elliot and takes a ride in a passing car to head toward Princeton. But when he finally reaches the city, he discovers that Princeton has also fallen victim to the virus. People there have already started harming themselves. At that moment, the man driving the car also comes under the effect of the virus. He suddenly increases the speed of the vehicle and crashes it directly into a tree, killing everyone inside. However, Elliot's friend somehow survives the crash. He steps out of the car and sits in the middle of the road. But by then, the virus has already affected him as well. He too begins harming himself, and this is how he dies. Meanwhile, Elliot watches a viral video on his phone showing a man under the effect of the virus walking directly into a group of wild lions. The lions brutally attack and kill him, yet the man never screams or cries in pain, as if he cannot feel anything anymore. At the same time, news channels announce that this is not a terrorist attack. No country is responsible for it. Instead, all the incidents started from the northeast, where a massive nuclear plant is located. Authorities believe radiation may have leaked from the plant, affecting people's brains and causing them to harm themselves. After hearing this, Elliot decides to travel as far away from the northeast as possible. He and the others ask a married couple for a ride. The husband and wife run a nursery, so they take Elliot and the others there. Once they arrive, the man tells Elliot that he believes all these incidents are actually connected to the trees and plants themselves. According to him, the plants are releasing poisonous toxins into the air. The man explains that just like plants release special chemicals to protect themselves whenever large numbers of insects attack them, they may now be doing the same thing against humans. According to him, the trees and plants are communicating with each other and releasing toxins because they want humans to stay away from them. But Elliot does not believe this theory at all. As they continue traveling, they notice many dead bodies lying on the road ahead. From this, they realize that the gas has already spread there too. Soon they meet two men who explain that the toxic effect has spread both ahead of them and behind them, meaning traveling in either direction will be dangerous. They also believe that the virus is mainly moving along the roads. Because of this, they decide to split into two groups and take different paths. There's also a small village nearby where they hope to reach safely. After this, everyone separates into groups. Elliot's group is smaller and walks ahead, while the larger group follows behind them. Suddenly, a strange gust of wind moves toward the larger group. Within moments, every person there becomes infected by the virus. They completely lose control of their minds and begin harming themselves and each other. Elliot turns back and sees that the entire group has died. He cannot understand why his own group remained unaffected. So he begins thinking carefully about everything that has happened. Soon Elliot realizes that the virus first appeared in the park filled with trees and plants. The people walking near roads were also affected because roadsides are lined with trees as well. He then remembers reading an article some time ago about scientists in Australia discovering ancient bacteria in the water that had existed millions of years ago and were extremely dangerous to humans. Those bacteria had later killed many fishermen. Elliot now starts believing that nature itself is changing and fighting back against humanity. Earlier, dangerous bacteria spread through water, but now the air itself is becoming the weapon because humans have damaged not only the water, but also the trees, plants, and the entire balance of nature. Because of this, Elliot realizes that nature now wants to get rid of humans. He also understands that the trees and plants are mainly targeting people who move in large groups. Just then, they suddenly notice a house nearby. But before they can take shelter there, they see a huge group of people heading toward the same house. Because of this, Elliot and the others quickly move away from the area. As soon as the large group reaches near the house, the virus affects all of them as well. They completely lose their mental balance and begin harming themselves. At that moment, Elliot becomes fully convinced that his theory is correct. After this, he brings his wife and the others closer to the house, where an old woman is sitting outside. Inside the house, there are no lights, no internet, and no technology of any kind. In reality, this old woman has completely disconnected herself from the outside world. Elliot asks her if he and his family can stay in her house for a few days. At first, the old woman refuses, but after Elliot repeatedly requests her, she finally agrees. Elliot already knows that this place is safe. However, he also wants to tell the old woman what is happening outside because she knows nothing about the world anymore. That night, she gives Elliot and his family food and a place to stay. But the next morning, the old woman's behavior suddenly changes. She starts yelling at Elliot and tells him to get out of her house. Then she walks into the garden outside, stops at one spot, and suddenly begins walking backward. Seeing this shocks Elliot. He immediately understands that the plants have now targeted the old woman as well. Earlier, the plants had never harmed her, but because she gave shelter to other people in her house, perhaps nature has now turned against her too. This makes Elliot realize that the plants actually have emotions as well. Since people living in cities constantly harm nature, the trees and plants are mainly targeting city people. But now they have also turned the old woman into their victim. Elliot quickly rushes inside the house and shuts all the doors and windows so they do not get infected. But soon the old woman comes near the house and starts smashing the glass windows with her own head. In reality, the plants are forcing her to do all of this. Elliot desperately searches for his wife and his friend's daughter inside the house, but they are not there. Instead, they are inside a small shed located near the house. The shed is connected to the house through a small pipe, which is why Elliot can still hear their voices. Elliot tells his wife to close all the windows and doors tightly, and she immediately does so. But suddenly, the winds become extremely strong, which means the plan to try to break into the house somehow and make them victims too. At this point, all of them begin believing that their final moments have arrived. So they decide that if they're going to die, then they will face it together. They step out of their shelters and walk into the middle of the open field, where they hold each other's hands tightly. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind passes directly through them. But surprisingly, nothing happens. They soon realize that the effect of the toxic gas released by the plants is finally weakening. Because of this, Elliot and the others continue living in that house for the next 3 months. After those 3 months pass, Elliot finally returns to his city, where life has slowly become normal once again. Many people in the city survived, but a huge number also died. Because of everything that happened, a large part of the world population has been wiped out, so now there are very few cars left on the roads. At the same time, a debate is being shown on television where a scientist explains that this was actually a natural disaster. According to him, nature itself is rejecting humans because humanity has caused too much damage to the environment. However, the scientist is then asked that if this is really true, then why did this happen only in America and a few nearby cities? Why did it not happen in the rest of the world? The scientist has no clear answer to this question. He only says that it is possible this disaster may return again in the future and spread to other countries as well. After this, the movie shows a scene in Paris where two friends have arrived to spend their vacation. While walking through the city, one of the friends suddenly begins repeating the same sentence over and over again. At the same time, everyone around them suddenly stops moving. This clearly hints that the plants are now preparing to target humans in this place as well and reduce the population once again. And with this, the movie finally comes to an end.